My two creepiest experiences. This comes from a Reddit user who posted on the True Scary Stories subreddit about 5 months ago. Right away, they acknowledged skepticism, explaining that they've spent years lurking on horror subreddits, never expecting to have stories worth sharing of their own. And that's usually where stories like this either fall apart or feel uncomfortably real. They make it clear these experiences aren't cinematic or over the top, just strange, and that small detail matters. Story 1: The Bridge. The first incident happened about 4 years ago when the poster was 16. They and their best friend had a routine: evening walks to their town, venting about school, or just catching up. One of those walks crossed the bridge over some train tracks. They make a point to describe it. It's not a creepy bridge by any means. It's wide, well lit with streetlights, and we'd walk over it a million times without a second thought. That detail matters. There was no reason to be scared. Nothing about the location primed them for fear. Until that night. It was around 10 or 11 p.m. Quiet, clear sky. Halfway across the bridge, one of the streetlights above them started flickering. Not subtly, aggressively. Then it went out completely. No other lights failed. Just that one right above them. They stopped walking. Their friend broke the silence. Okay, that's creepy as fuck. Then the air shifted. The poster describes a heavy sensation, like crossing into a space they weren't supposed to be in, feeling of being watched, and then they heard it. A scream. It came from beneath the bridge, down where the train tracks ran. At first, they thought it was human, maybe a woman, but it didn't sound right. Like something was trying to sound human, but couldn't quite get it right. The scream lasted only a few seconds, but when it ended, the silence felt worse. They didn't investigate, they ran, and later, catching their breath, the friend asked the obvious question. What the fuck was that? The poster admits their mind jumped to cryptid explanations, Wendigos, skinwalkers, before immediately noting that those legends don't belong where they live. The next day, they checked everything. News, social media, local chatter, nothing. No missing people, no animal attacks, no explanation. What stayed with them wasn't the sound itself. It felt personal, like it was meant for us to hear. Story 2: The Blue Boy. The second experience happened even earlier. The poster used to sleep with their bedroom door open, not because of anything paranormal, just a childhood fear of being kidnapped. One night, they woke up for no reason. No noise, no nightmare. They turned towards the doorway, and that's when they saw him. There, sitting in a squat, in the hallway just outside my room, was a boy. At first, they assumed it was a younger sibling. Logical, until they looked closer. This kid was blue. Not pale, not shadowed, blue. And then the eyes. Way too big for a human face. Pitch black, like a shark's eyes. The boy raised his hand and waved, slowly, deliberately. Most people would immediately think sleep paralysis, and the poster did consider it, but there was a complication. I could move. I shifted in bed, blinked, pinched my arm. They were awake. Here's the unsettling part. They weren't scared. I felt calm. No panic, no dread, just watched, observed. Then, there's missing time. They don't remember what happened next. 1 second staring at the boy, the next, it's morning. No marks, no footprints, no confirmation from anyone else. They never saw the blue boy again. They don't sleep with their door open anymore. They don't insist on ghosts, demons, or glitches in reality. All I know is that both times, it felt like I'd crossed paths with something that wasn't meant for me to see. And that's what makes stories like this linger. Not the creature descriptions, not the lack of answers, but the feeling that whatever it was, noticed them first. Someone broke into my house and tried to find me. This story was posted by a Reddit user on the Let's Not Meet subreddit, and unlike paranormal stories, this one is terrifying because it's grounded entirely in reality. The user explains that this happened a few years ago, while they were renting a house in Northern California, just outside the suburbs. The neighborhood felt quiet and safe, but there were no streetlights, which made the area extremely dark at night. The night this happened, the user came home from work in the middle of the winter. It was cloudy. The only light came from their headlights and porch light. As they stepped out of the car, they noticed something strange. When I got out of my car, I caught a whiff of cigarette smoke. They say this had never happened before around the house. They didn't see anyone nearby, so they went inside and tried to brush it off. They were exhausted from work and decided to shower and go to bed early, but later that night, something woke them up. They were suddenly sure they heard a noise inside the house. At first, they weren't immediately alarmed. A friend sometimes stopped by to shower after work and had a spare key, but that friend always texted first, and the user hadn't heard their phone go off. They reached for their phone in the dark. The screen was so bright they could barely see anything clearly. After setting it down, they called out their friend's name, and that's when everything changed. There was a brief silence, and then they heard someone running through the first floor of the house. The user immediately jumped out of bed and ran for the closet. By the time they opened it, whoever was inside was already coming up the stairs. The upstairs hallway had 2 bedrooms and a bathroom at the end. Both bedroom doors were closed, but the bathroom door was slightly opened. The intruder ran past the user's room and into the bathroom. That moment likely saved their life. While the intruder was distracted, the user opened the attic access inside the closet and started pulling themselves up. As they were climbing, the intruder ran back out the bathroom. Their bedroom door burst open. The user was now crouched in the attic, just above the access opening. From where they were hiding, they could only see the intruder from the knees down. They were wearing dirty blue jeans with frayed cuffs and worn work boots. The intruder searched the closet, stepped away, and then there was a loud crash followed by something far worse. That scream was the most unnerving part of the incident for me. The user describes the scream as one of frustration and rage, something that deeply disturbed them and reminded them of past trauma. The intruder then ran downstairs, violently tearing through the house. Furniture was thrown, objects were smashed, and the noise continued for some time. The user stayed motionless in the attic. They had left their phone behind, weren't sure they could climb down without being heard. Eventually, when the house went silent, they began counting, slowly, all the way to 1,000 before moving. When they finally came down, they discovered their bed had been flipped over, apparently in an attempt to find them. They couldn't locate their phone, so they used a landline to call the police. When officers arrived, they found the house in disarray. Cabinets had been opened, food thrown across the kitchen, furniture overturned, but oddly, only one thing was missing. As far as I could tell though, the only thing missing was a single knife out of the wooden block in my kitchen. Police determined that the intruder had forced open the side door, likely using a crowbar. Along the fence line, they found cigarette butts, foil, and a pen tube, items the police said were commonly used to smoke meth. Based on this, officers believed that the intruder had likely been watching the house for some time. The user never slept that night. They blocked the broken door with furniture, cleaned what they could, and repeatedly checked the yard with a flashlight. In the days that followed, they had the door fixed, installed motion lights, and even ran a phone line into the attic. They lived in the house another 3 years without another incident, but the experience never left them. They admit they still practice escape routes even after moving and still think about one question: what would have happened if they had been just a little slower?